Hi and welcome to Lee on the Lectionary. Today we're looking at the readings for the week known as Proper 8 in Year B. Those readings are Psalm 30, 2 Corinthians 8:7 to 24 and Mark 5:21 to 43. In the readings for this week we rejoice in God's power over death, which he gives to those who trust in him. We rejoice in God's power over death, which he gives to those who trust in him. In Mark's Gospel so far, we've seen Jesus' power over sickness, over the demonic world, and over the forces of nature. In the reading from chapter 5, we now see his power over our last and greatest enemy, death. The same trust in Jesus which heals the woman who has suffered for 12 years restores to Jairus his dead daughter. Many people swarmed around Jesus that day, as they still do today, but few had or have that living connection to him by faith. We may not be able to see who they are, but the Lord knows those who are his, and their loving trust in Jesus is sufficient to calm all fears. Jesus was certainly aware in Mark chapter 5 verse 30 that power had gone forth from him. It was costly to him to heal and restore others, and since many troubled him, according to verse 35, it was not cheap grace that he dispensed. The Corinthians, in the reading from the epistle, are urged by the Apostle Paul to imitate the generosity of the Saviour. Though he was rich, yet for our sake he left his Father's throne above. So free, so infinite his love, as Wesley exclaims in one of his hymns. He exchanged the sapphire-paved courts of heaven for a stable floor and the overcrowded city full of needy people. In doing so, he made us rich, beyond the measure of our deserving. In the same way, says the Apostle, let us show the earnestness of our love for others by similar acts of altruistic grace, not forgetting to finish what we start and put into practice our initial impulses or benevolent intentions. The Corinthians had an example of this sort of self-giving steadfastness in Titus and others, co-workers who were sent by Paul to assist them at no insubstantial cost to themselves in terms of travel and time. The psalmist also praises God, who lifts us up from poverty to profit. I will exalt you, O Lord, because you have raised me up, he sings. You have not let my foes triumph over me. He is healed and is brought up from the dead, verses 2 and 3, restored to life again after the despair of the pit. It is said that suffering either makes you bitter or makes you better. The psalmist realizes that a temporary experience of God's heavy hand upon him, moving him from prosperity to dismay, will eventually lift as joy comes in the morning. There is no profit of praise in allowing him to die. Will the dust praise you or declare your faithfulness, he asks. But the Lord is our helper. Helper, the same word as for Eve in Genesis 2 verses 18 and 20. The Lord our helper is gracious and merciful, turning mourning into dancing. His grace leads to gladness for all who call out to him. And as we thank him for small victories in this life, we can also look ahead to a future of eternal song.